I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
Breaking news, destroy that like button, because Donald Trump has just paused tariffs on all countries for 90 days to encourage negotiation and reward countries who wish to make a deal. With a 10% base rate still applying for now, it is nothing compared to China's tariffs, which were just raised even further, now 125%. Markets are rallying big because of this news. Trump made this statement directly following.
You know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75. And they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
Markets are seeing an insane relief rally right now. Stock market up double digits, crypto market up double digits. In fact, 12 billion asset manager Bitwise, their CIO Matt Hogan, says based on what he's seeing, Bitcoin is now set up to rally significantly. Congratulations if you bought the dip, because we're going to new all-time highs and beyond.
Matt, are you surprised at all about how Bitcoin has held up? There has been this saying that if you have things that are liquid and you need to give it up, then you would sell, but you did not see liquid selling of Bitcoin as drastically this time around.
I think it's held up exceptionally well. I think Bitcoin bulls should be inspired by the performance, and it's set up to rally significantly if we get a period of stability in the broader equity markets. It's worth remembering the last time we had true economic chaos during the start of COVID, Bitcoin wicked down to $5,000 and even below that. Today, we're talking about $80,000. It's a different asset. It has a broader distribution of institutional ownership. And again, I think what it's telling you is once this market volatility stabilizes, we're going to see it return to new all-time highs and then beyond. It's really a display of strength.
Make no mistake about it, Bitcoin has been and will continue to be a huge winner in this global trade war. Matthew Sigel, head of digital asset research at VanEck, actually just put out a report the other day. This is huge news. This surprised some skeptics. VanEck has confirmed that China and Russia are officially settling some of their energy trades in Bitcoin as the trade war ramps up. Maybe a trade war is what crypto actually needs. So China and Russia are using Bitcoin in their trades. And then going back to Bitwise and CIO Matt Hogan, his research is confirming the same thing. He says Bitcoin is the real winner in this currency war.
I think the answer to who wins in this currency war is Bitcoin, right? When I watched all the tariff confusion play out, and what will Trump do, and what will China do, and how many bilateral deals will we negotiate, the thing that's clearest to me from all that is that we should expect the US dollar to move lower, that we're moving from a world of the US dollar being the sole reserve currency to a world with potentially multiple reserve currencies. Bitcoin benefits when fiat currencies go lower. Bitcoin benefits when there's new space for reserve assets. I think it's the cleanest investment response to the chaos and confusion we're seeing from this tariffs, specifically because it's the hedge against fiat currency debasement. And I think we're setting up for that in the US, in China, in Europe, and around the world. And I think investors would be foolish not to have at least some exposure to Bitcoin to hedge themselves from the chaos that's dominating the headlines right now.
Now is the time to buy the dip. Now is the time to cost average and buy assets that you truly believe in. Use this market volatility to your advantage. Matt Hogan says that if you zoom out and take a look at everything that has happened and will happen, it's hard not to be bullish and see that crypto grows exponentially over the next several years.
When you step back and look at this from a 30,000-foot level, a number of things remain true. Institutions are still woefully underexposed to crypto. They're going to be coming into the market. The government now owns Bitcoin, has removed a huge amount of regulatory risk. I think it's the best risk-adjusted moment to buy Bitcoin that I've seen in the market. So, has it pulled back a little bit? Yes. But if we span out and measure since Trump won the election, it's done exceptionally well. And I think its best years are ahead of it. Here's the bet that most people I speak with want to make. And I speak to financial advisors and family offices and institutions. The thing they have the most confidence in all of crypto isn't this layer one versus that layer one or DeFi versus DePIN. It's that crypto will be more important in the future than it is today. This is like backpedaling 20 years ago and making a broad-based bet on internet search rather than trying to choose between Yahoo or Ask Jeeves or Google. Why not get the broad trend right so that you have that exposure if what you predict long-term happens, which is that crypto, as an industry, 10x's over the next 5 years. That's the thesis I have the most confidence in.
I mean, it's so obvious. I can't believe more people don't understand this and see this, but then again, that's where the opportunity is. The fact that the next several years are going to be so different from the past several years. I mean, the macro tailwinds for Bitcoin and crypto are so good. We've never seen something like this before. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that they're removing regulatory barriers for Bitcoin, crypto, and stablecoins. Huge.
We will take a close look at regulatory impediments to blockchain, stablecoins, and new payment systems. And we will consider reforms to unleash the awesome power of the American capital markets. Americans deserve a financial services industry that works for all Americans, including and especially Main Street.
Make sure you subscribe to our channel, Altcoin Daily. We're so close to hitting 1.6 million subscribers. We're the #1 crypto YouTube channel in the US. We're top 3 in the world. We keep you informed on everything crypto on a daily basis. Remember, guys, most people don't know what we know. Most people don't realize what we try to show you on a daily basis. The US will acquire as much Bitcoin as we can get. That's an official edict from the White House, and so much more is happening beyond that. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll leave you with this.
The US has already acquired about 200,000 BTC. That's worth about $17 billion. Strategy CEO Michael Saylor is suggesting that the US acquire up to 25% of the Bitcoin supply by 2035. What would be the target amount for the United States in your view?
I get asked this question a lot, and I think the answer to that, as much as we can possibly get, so long as it's in budget neutral ways that don't cost the taxpayer a dime. I think we have a lot of high IQ people in the building that are working on this, and folks over at the Treasury office and folks over at Commerce. We'll be able to come up with ways to accumulate more really over the course of the next few years and beyond that. I mean, look, we view Bitcoin as being digital gold. That's why we set up the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the way that we did, right? Bitcoin is a commodity. It's not a security. As our AI and cryptos are, David Sachs likes to say, it has the immaculate conception, meaning that there's no issuer. It has intrinsic stored value that's traditionally accepted. And we feel like it's in the best interest of Americans to hold on to this asset long term and accumulate as much as we can get. That's why we've akin this to digital gold and talked about building the digital Fort Knox for the United States. And you mentioned the Bitcoin that we have possession of. We've actually been in possession of nearly 400,000 Bitcoin. We sold roughly half of that prematurely at about, I think it was close to $370 million is what we sold it for. If we would have held on to that, it would have been worth $17 billion today. I mean, it just goes to show you how important this asset is and what we can do with it to benefit the American people. One thing that I've said repeatedly throughout the media circuit is that I think it's really nice that we have a president that's actually looking to accumulate assets for Americans rather than take it away, unlike the last regime that we had here at the White House. But we feel very confident about our plan. We feel confident about the internal working group that was set up in that first EO. And I think we're going to have tremendous ideas on how to accomplish this.